Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Continental Confidential Live with my special guest and old friend, Shelley King.
Hey,
Hi,
hey,
Shelley.
how's it going?
It's going.
Good deal. It
And I
is
will
going.
apologize to everybody for the clipping that's going on because of my background, because I don't have a green screen, so it's a virtual background. And so throughout this whole thing, my hair gets a haircut and my shirt comes and goes, and it's not in an exciting way.
Cool.
So Shelley, tell me what you've been up to.
Man, just trying to, get used to the new normal, if you will. I've been doing a whole lot of stuff and staying as busy as I can, even though it's a different kind of busy. Usually I'm touring and playing gigs, and this has been totally a different time in my life, but I have embraced the live stream thing, and I do a couple of live streams a week, and I do Zoom shows, and doing a lot of writing and just learning the ropes, I mean, these are new times for us all in technology. And
Yes.
I mean, a year ago, would you imagine that you'd be doing these Zoom call live streams? I mean, that's kind of cool that we're learning new technology.
I kind of did think
adapting,
of it, but I hadn't made any moves towards doing it.
Yeah, and now it's like you're an expert. So.
I'm an expert with Facebook Live. I'm not an expert with Zoom yet. But I learned
I'm with you.
something new.
It's a little trickier.
What'd you say, honey?
I said, I'm with you. It's a little bit trickier.
Yeah, it's different. And I do have the option of streaming it simultaneously to Facebook. But I haven't quite gotten to the point where I've done it, because I still have to figure out if I can stream it live to the Continental Club Facebook page, or if it has to be to mine and then I upload it to the Continental Club. So see, there's something new to learn every week.
Every week. It's insane.
So we'll see what the lesson is today.
Yeah. Same over here too. Because when we get done here, then I'll be getting ready to do my Wednesday night live stream. This is my setup for that. So I'll just add a guitar and rock on.
And those have been so fabulous too. I've enjoyed them. I've watched several of them so far. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, now I'm doing them. I started out doing them on Sunday afternoons. I started that like Easter Sunday. I was a little slower than some folks. Some folks started right up when we went into lockdown. I kind of was a little standoffish for a while and was like seeing what people were doing. And then I'm like, okay, I'll do one for Mother's Day. And it was so fun that I just decided to keep doing them, So I've done probably about 30 of the Sunday shows. And back maybe in June, I added Wednesday nights. Sheila Steele asked me to start doing a Wednesday night show on Austin Cable Channel 16. And then so I started doing it there, and then thought, well, can I put this on Facebook too? And that's when I decided to branch out and put it on YouTube Live at the same time. And so now I'm like simulcasting, and who knew? Right. But it's a lot of fun.
Well, there is a lot of value in doing these. It does keep y'all and us connected with the people, in a time when connection is something that we're so sorely lacking.
True. It's completely that. I mean, it is right now a way that many artists are actually making their living. So that part's really important to sustain the art, and make a sustainable living. But the rewards from the connection with people are immense. I mean, I see a lot of the same people that come to all of my shows and get on the chat room and talk, and they've gotten to know each other. And so when I get somebody in in Oregon and somebody in Massachusetts and someone in Kerrville, and they're all talking to each other like, hey, good to see you again, you know, and because they're chatting with each other and making little jokes and stuff in the comments a couple times a week, then it becomes a community. And you know, I'm really missing my music community, but I'm glad that a lot of them are joining me online and we're able to continue that connection, because it's as important for me. I know there's been a number of days where I've kind of felt like, oh, I feel kind of weird. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do a show. I mean, sometimes you got to be right in the head, you know, and I felt a little weird and didn't know if I was going to be able to pull it off. But as soon as I got on there and started getting feedback from people and knowing that people were there, I felt so much better. And when I was done, the music and the community just, I'm so glad I did that. So I look forward to these shows so much. I mean, it really gets me through the week.
One of the things that I saw was a trend towards many musicians either slowing down or completely stopping doing the live streams. And I don't know if it's because they got tired of doing them or if they felt that monetarily they weren't beneficial anymore. I do know that there's kind of a burnout factor. That after a while, people start thinking, well, this isn't as much fun as a live show. One of my best friends actually won't watch live streams anymore because it makes her too sad.
Oh.
Because she's not having the live music experience. And I know I feel horrible about that because, you know, this is somebody that loves music and loves musicians and is a big supporter. And that was kind of one of the reasons that I started doing this. I used to do a Continental Club live where I interviewed musicians years ago. And that was part of my early Facebook live streams. And then I stopped doing it after a while just because, you know, that tends to be my modus operandi. I'm happy with doing something for a while and then suddenly I'm not. But although I do have some longevity too, because I did the newsletter weekly for 20 years.
Yeah.
It was 2 months shy of being exactly 20 years.
Yeah.
So, but it was one of the things really that spurred me to want to do this, is because I feel like, you know, people want a different kind of connection right now. And whether it be in live streams or whether it be in interviews or whatever it is, they're just looking for something to capture that feeling of connectedness with the musicians that they love. And well, is that what you're hearing from your people?
Yeah, I kind of get, I've got some opinions on a lot of that. First of all, about the burnout factor, addressing that. Yes, I understand that people get the screen fatigue. They're looking at the computers all day, and then for a good time, they don't want to watch a show on the computer. But sometimes they do, you know? And so it may have reached the point where they're not going to watch 3 live streams every night. Like in the beginning, I was personally so excited, you know, watching all these bands all over the country, because I never get a chance to go out and see music because I'm playing it. So now I felt like I was getting to see more music. And now so I understand that the burnout factor, but I feel like that this is a really wonderful opportunity to get a firsthand live music experience, even though there's a screen between us, you know? I feel like it's amazing that we have this opportunity, and a lot of people are embracing that. I know for me as a performer, it is very live. So if a viewer feels like this isn't a real live experience, from a performer's perspective, it's very live. I get more nervous for live streams than I ever did for a gig.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I could put it this way. If I was getting ready to do a gig at the Continental Club, I'll probably be sitting out in my car before the gig, slapping on some makeup in the visor, kind of in the
Right.
dark. That's good enough. You can't tell under the lights, right? So go in, do my show, whatever, have a drink. Yeah, I'm just doing my thing. But when you're getting ready for a live stream, especially a solo show like my shows now, no band behind me to back me up or anything, then I started getting a little nervous. I mean, first of all, the camera's in your face. So now like your makeup's got to be good. You can't just slap it on all crappy because there's a camera in your face the whole time, you know?
Right.
So then there's other things that happen. So let's say you're a little nervous. You might forget some lyrics because it's a song you haven't done in months, right? The freak out that's going on is real. It's live, it's real. So if there's a mistake that's made or you know, just saying the adrenaline that I get as a live performer, this really has kept me on my toes. I can't imagine if I had not been doing these the whole time, I'd be so rusty when I went back to playing, you know, live in clubs and stuff.
Right.
But this has really kept me on my toes. It's connected me with people. It's made me do songs that I might not do otherwise. People are requesting songs. They're requesting, will you play that one song off of your second album that I haven't heard you do in years? I'm like, I friggin' forgot it. I'm going to have to go learn it again, you know? And then to be by myself with no band to be like, hey, how'd that bridge go? Oh, thanks, guys. You know, I mean, it's all on me. So it's really kept me on my toes. And then since I'm doing 2 shows a week, I want to keep it fresh. So I'm going back through my old notebooks and stuff and finding songs that I've never even done, that maybe I wrote them and said, well, that's a cool song, I'll revisit that someday, and never did it. Or it's a little too country for my Americana blues show, so I won't do it with my band, you know? But when I'm doing my solo thing, doesn't really matter, you know? It's all me and my guitar. So I've kind of gotten into this thing now, like I'm finding old songs that have never been played out before and working them up, and I'm just like, every song must have its day. So I'm
for you,
trying
this is kind of
to get creative with it.
It's making you be more creative.
It is, and it's keeping me from getting rusty, and also like chit-chatting with, you know, chit-chatting. Like right now, I'm talking to my phone. I see your picture up there, but I'm talking to my phone, you know. And when I'm dealing with my live streams, I don't even see a picture. I'm looking at the other side of my phone where there's a little camera thing. Right. So it keeps me on my toes with like chatting, because there's nobody chatting back to me unless they put it in the chat, you know. And I don't read the chat while I'm playing. Perry will write down some of the things people say, and he'll bring me a little notes and I'll go, oh, so-and-so said it's 85 degrees, and you know, wherever they are. So, you know, it keeps me going. And I think it has really kept me sharp as a performer. And I feel like the shows are really live, and the adrenaline rush, you know, sometimes I'm exhausted when they're over because I put it all out there, you know, and when I'm done, I'm like, whoo, I need a nap, you know? So anyway, I feel like, sorry about that. I'm having pop-ups, I'll ignore them. I couldn't see you for a minute. Some app telling me I needed to log something. So, but I really think that these are a blessing, and they are kind of a wave of the future, because there's a lot of people who are really not going to return to going into a club. So,
Right.
and for them, this is going to be a great way to stay in touch.
Right.
When we do all return to getting back together, I'm going to try to keep them up, because I know there's going to be people who need that connection still. So
I'm actually planning on continuing this indefinitely.
yeah, I mean, that's my plan.
Uh-huh.
But you never know what's happening anymore, but
Well,
that's
exactly.
kind of the plan.
And I may be one of those that is never really able to return, certainly to my job, because I am so high risk.
Yeah, it's a high risk job.
Yeah,
you know, when
exactly.
you're at that door and that many people are coming past you.
Yep.
You know.
Right. And you know, I'm
gonna get a job being a plexiglass salesman.
Right. That's what I need, is a little plexiglass booth.
I'm build you a little booth, like a Dunkin' booth.
You're right. Maybe I'll get the honky tonk doctor is in booth after all.
Yeah.
I always wanted one of those little Lucy, you know, from Peanuts. I wanted a Lucy Van Pelt booth for the doctor, the honky tonk doctor. Maybe I'll get one.
Yeah, you should. You deserve it.
So, Shelley, we're going to experiment with something.
Okay.
I am going to put us live on Facebook, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay. Good luck.
Okay. It's connecting. We'll see what happens here. Okay, this is telling me that I am now connected live on Facebook.
Woo!
I have no idea what page it's on. Oh, wait a minute. I just now have something popping up in front of me. It's my screen. Are you seeing me, or are you seeing my screen?
I see you.
Okay. Because this is, oh, wow. Well, in the meantime, while this connects or does whatever it's going to do, I can share where I want it to go. Share to a page you manage. Yeah. Oh my God. And
go for it.
To the Continental Club. And then it says next.
Mm-hmm. Other options
now
too.
It's live groups. It's preparing the live stream.
Cool.
So here we go. We're learning something new today.
Sweet. Was that in the Zoom app? How did that happen?
That was in the Zoom app.
Oh, yes. That's cool.
At the bottom of my Zoom screen.
Cool. I haven't done that yet.
For more. And, oh, wow. We're there, but it's almost like it's doing where it was, not where it is now. So, okay, we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What was your first gig?
Well, I would say, like, when you say gig, to me, that means getting paid to play the music that I wrote for people in public.
Okay.
I played plenty of parties where I didn't get paid. I played plenty of different events, but the actual, like, first gig that I went out and pitched my demo tape and they said, okay, open up your calendar, how about this date, was this little place in Houston on Waugh Drive. It was called Victoria's Cafe, and it was teeny tiny. It was, I don't even remember what kind of food they had. It was some little cafe, and they had live music, and they advertised in the public news, which is a cool music rag in Houston. And I just remember thinking, I'll go down there and try that out. So I went knocking on their door, and the girl who, I remember the girl who said that she did the booking, she said, I'll be with you in a second. I have to go change the names on the sign out front. and I had like a Walkman with headphones and my demo tape in it. And I said, here, put this on and listen to my demo tape while you're changing the sign. And so she went out there, she put the sign up, she came back in and got her calendar out and booked me for it. But what was funny about it is I totally overdid that gig in the hugest way. First of all, I probably had about 5 or 6 people there. And I took this huge PA system, these huge EV speakers, these giant 15 speakers, 2 speakers. I rented lights. I had cans, like 2 cans on a stand, you know, these hot big lights. And this room was the teeniest room. The whole place was as big as where the pool table is in the Continental Club.
Oh my
you know,
God.
it was the teeniest room. I got this giant PA, these giant lights, and I had a couple of players backing me up. We squeezed into this corner, but I just really overdid it. I was like festival sound and lights in Victoria's Cafe. It was pretty goofy, but.
And about what year was that?
That was like maybe 1989, 1990, something like that. And I've been singing for years and doing different things, but not like I hadn't said, I'm starting a band and I'm going to get a gig with my music. And that's the first one for that, you know?
And do you remember the first South by Southwest that you attended?
Yeah, totally. I think it was probably about the same time, maybe 1990.
And do you remember how we met?
Maybe 91. I do remember how we met. And I'll tell that in a second. The first South by that I went to, we all just had wristbands. There was no badge or anything. You just got like a $30 wristband.
Right.
And all the, everything was at the Hyatt downtown, the Hyatt on the river. And so, you know, we go there and hang out and schmooze and whatever, and then little various venues around town. It was pretty exciting. I remember I had met Barbara that worked at Lubbock or Leave It, which was Butch Hancock's place over there on, what road is that? Was it Trinity? What is that street
No,
there?
it wasn't on Trinity. It was like on
the one by the Driscoll. Right, that road.
Oasis or
Oasis, maybe. Yeah. And I was in there visiting with her, and I remember that I met you there. She introduced me to you as a manager, that someone who could help me, you know, with band management and stuff.
Well,
do you remember that?
Interestingly enough, I wasn't managing at that time. I had been managing in New York while I was still there, but when I came down here, it was just the booking agency that I opened.
Well, booking management.
Okay, so our memories of our first meet are somewhat different, because I remember meeting you in the atrium at South by Southwest when it was in the hotel.
Oh.
And I don't remember if I had heard you sing or what exactly were the circumstances. But that was the same day that I had met the Dixie Chicks. And that was before, of course, Natalie was even in Dixie Chicks. But that's how I remembered meeting you. Now, the thing with Barbara, I think at Lubbock or Leave It probably happened right around the same time. But yeah, that's really interesting.
Maybe we had already
memories of it.
Yeah. Well, the thing I remembered about the time when I met you with Barbara was that I had just had some headshots made, some promo pictures, back when we all used to do 8.5 by 11 glossy, or 8 by 10 glossy, not 8.5 by 11, 8 by 10 glossy photos. And I had a black and white headshot. And I thought they were great. I thought this was going to change my life, having these good pictures, you know. And so I showed them to Barbara, and she's like, yeah, these are great. Hey, you need to meet Dianne. She does, you know, booking, management, band stuff. And I remember you looked at it, and you said, what are you? Are you an actress, a model? a singer? What do you do? Because it was like a pretty generic, you know, like black tank top, big glamour shot hair, you know, and no guitar or anything. And I remember you were just kind of like, this is a great picture, but what are you doing with it? What are you trying to do? I'm like, oh, I'm a musician. And you're like, well, you need to convey that, you know?
Brand yourself.
I was like, good idea. I'm going to do what she said.
So tell me, Shelley, who were your biggest influences musically?
It's so hard to say because I've floated around in all kinds of music and all kinds of, you know, things that I've really enjoyed throughout my life. I mean, I enjoy country music. I enjoy deep roots blues music. I enjoy gospel and big gospel, like mass choir gospel and old gospel. And people for me that really, really blow my mind are like Aretha Franklin and Mavis Staples and Etta James. I mean, those, Dinah Washington, those people blow my minds with their incredible soulful vocals and just their presence. And, oh, you know, golly, that's amazing. But I'm also equally as inspired by Willie Nelson, you know, and Johnny Cash and Tom Petty and John Hyatt and Delbert McClinton and people that just do their thing, you know, great songwriters, people who are individuals, independent, and make no apologies for who they are. They just are themselves. I just appreciate so many different styles of music. I cry through Broadway musicals. I cry through gospel songs. I mean, I'll probably cry talking to you about music. Music moves me, and I like all kinds of music. And I've had all kinds of influences, and a lot of those influences have just been people that are my peers. You know, people right here in Austin are the absolutely most influential people in my lives. You know, there's, you know, Marsha Ball, Carolyn Wonderland, you know, there's just so many amazing artists in this town and people who have worked so hard to build something. And it's always been right there for me to look at and see as an example of that's what I want to do. So my influence are right here in town. So everywhere, all around me.
Interestingly enough, we have such a plethora of really talented musicians, songwriters here in Austin that people that would be the cream of the crop in any town across America can be second string here in Austin.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a velvet rut.
That is true.
You know, it's easy to be complacent about a career when you live in Austin. Not everyone is, but some people become that because it's easy to find your people here and be happy with that kind of support and that level of adulation. And it means, you know, not touring a whole lot, and it means not really stretching your boundaries very much. Now, you're one of those people that doesn't sit on her laurels. You are constantly moving and constantly working and constantly, you know, trying to do things. And I find that so admirable because at the level of the love that your fans have for you, it would be easy to settle into a weekly gig someplace and depend on that to, you know, just keep you supported. So kudos to you for not falling into that velvet rut.
Well, thank you, but that still remains to be seen because now I am kind of settling into my regular weekly shows. my Wednesday and Sunday shows are my whole thing right now. So
right, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that for some people, that's all they've ever done. They've never really tried to expand their boundaries.
It's really hard. I sympathize with people who are not doing that. They may really want to do that. It may, or maybe they are really comfortable where they're at and don't want to do that. And I do know some who are like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know from being a musician that when you're trying to get out there on the road, you know, they want to know how many butts you're going to put in these seats, how many tickets
Right.
you're going to sell.
Right.
Here's one thing they want to know. They want to know what your sales history, your hard ticket sales history is in this market. Well, if it's a new market, you don't have a hard ticket sales history there. And all you've got is what you've done in Austin. And you can say, well, I get 75 people into the Continental Club on Wednesday nights, you know, and what does that mean in New York City? So then you're not going to get a gig that pays enough to
Right.
make it worth your while. So then when you go out on the road, you're going in the hole, you're living on your credit cards, you know, it's expensive, especially if you take a band, then you're buying meals and hotel rooms. And then if your van breaks down, you know, it just can be a really fast hole that you get into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing really easy about touring life.
Yeah, it's hard. And there's plenty of people who may have had that experience and said, hell with this. I am not going to put myself at that kind of risk anymore. And, you know, and maybe that's the deal, or maybe they just never got that break to get them out. You know, I knew that I wanted to tour. It was something that I craved. I wanted to see all these places and make friends in all these places and do it. And I saw the bands that, you know, that were doing it, and I'm like, man, I want to do that. I want to do that. And, you know, I would say when things get back in the groove, hopefully at some point they will, that for people, in case there's somebody watching who's not sure how to break out and go do that, the first thing that really got me out on the road was applying to a festival that was far away.
Yep.
And I got into the North by Northeast Festival in Toronto, Canada. And so that meant I had to drive with my band across the country. So we like mapped it out and said, well, it looks like we're going through Little Rock and Memphis and Nashville and Cleveland, and let's get some gigs.
Yep.
You know, and so we started doing that. And then each time we'd go back and we'd build on it. And it's that thing, you know, getting that one gig, that one festival that you commit to. Right. Then you got to do it, you know. So
and I agree with you completely on like festivals being an end point, and how I used to work the touring between the start and the destination was, you know, a lot of my bands had friends that lived across the country. And so we'd say, okay, what band should we be playing with in what room? And then we'd find out if that band could maybe find a gig at that club and request that my band be on it.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of how I used to deal with that, you know, the unknown factor is maybe not make a whole lot of money off it, but at least get into the venue by being requested as an opener or closer for your friends who were the headliner.
That's a good plan. That's totally a good plan.
It's one that still works, you know. I mean, that's one that never goes out of style.
That's the truth. That's the truth. But just, you know, just getting out there is not easy, and it's not easy to get out of Texas.
Right. And it's getting more expensive all the time to even
it is. It is, but it is. I always think about that, like when we start off on a big tour, you know, just getting packed up and getting the wheels rolling is so hard. And then you get going, and hours later, you're barely out of Austin, you know?
Yeah. Right. Well,
it's just crazy.
And then, you know, drive all night, never leave Texas, drive all night long and never leave home. Right.
Yeah, that's totally it. And we got this thing where we started leaving at night.
Yeah.
especially for summer tours.
Yeah.
We'd leave at night and drive through the night, because by the next morning when the sun came up, we were so much further down the road, and we drove in the cool of the night, you know, in the summertime, so you're not in the heat of the day leaving town and 5 o'clock traffic or something crazy. So yeah. Crazy. So I just recently, I mean, I haven't been anywhere since March. I've barely been to the store. In fact, we order everything online, and Perry goes and picks it up curbside. I've hardly left the house. I've done, I did a show the other night in Fredericksburg outside at Hondo's in the courtyard. And it was okay. We were far away from everybody on our own little gazebo and all that. So, and it was fun to play music. It certainly was fun. I don't think that people really social distanced the way they should have, but that's their business. They weren't up on me, so I was cool. I really enjoyed that. But other than that, I haven't been anywhere except last weekend. We got a call from Perry's mom, my mother-in-law, and she's like 84. And she was on a road trip with one of her girlfriends to Durango, Colorado. She lives in just near LA. And they were on a road trip to Durango. And she knows I know how to find good hotel deals and stuff. She's been on the road with me and found some of the places I've stayed. And so she calls and she's like, "What's that website that you got those really cool rooms on?" I was like, "Well, hey, you want me to be your travel agent? I'm doing nothing right now. I'll book a room for you." So I got online and found a cool room for him and stuff. And then I thought, what are we doing? Why don't we just drive to Durango and surprise her? I mean, I know where she's staying. So we packed up in the van. We actually threw a futon in the back of the van, the mattress. And me and my husband, Perry, and our son, our 16-year-old son, Clark, all piled into the big old tour van and made those wheels turn. We drove to Colorado, and I got to tell you, just being in the van for 14 or 15 hours was awesome. It was just like, oh my gosh, look at this. We're driving down the road. The wheels are turning. Oh, it felt good to be on the road. You know, we weren't doing a gig or anything, but it just felt good to be out on the road. It's in my blood.
People need kind of a change of pace right now, you know. It's a pretty tough time.
Well, I got to tell you, if you want to do anything like that, I found that people in New Mexico and Colorado were very, very compliant with masks and social distancing. It was really, really well done. All the restaurants in Durango had outdoor seating out on the street, and you know, it was very well done. Now, when we drove back home, we had to stop and get gas in Llano, Texas, and I was mortified by the number of people with no masks on, and in places that said masks were required, and still nobody had them on, none of the employees, nothing. I'm like, good grief, have y'all not heard the word? What the heck? So there you have that. But Colorado and New Mexico, they had it down, and they were being careful. So if you decide to head out, you might want to go further west than Llano. Keep going.
So my next question for you, Shelley, is what song do you wish you had written?
Ooh, wow. Okay. I've got so many. I do Levon, the song that Levon Helm did, but he didn't write it. It was written by Larry Campbell, called When I Go Away. I recorded that song an album or two ago, and I love that song. It's so fine. I don't think anybody's ever done it as well as Levon did it. I enjoy doing it. I love singing it. I think it's an amazing song. And the thing that makes it so amazing is these weaving of lyrics and vocals that happen in it. And You know, I only wished I could do it as well as Levon. But I always wished I had written that song. And so many others, you know, there's
Is
just,
that actually your favorite song to perform? Or
I
what
don't
would
think
be your
I don't
favorite
really think
song?
that I have a favorite song to perform. I think sometimes when I mean, I am not tired of my songs, so that's a bonus. I feel like if I get tired of a song, then I'm not enjoying performing it. And I'm not tired of most of my songs, so that's good.
It is.
I'm not sure I actually have a favorite. I'm looking at a set list right here. I'm not sure I really have a fave. Maybe usually it's like one of the newer songs is a fave, you know, because it's fresh
Right.
and so right now I have a couple of the songs that I was talking about that I found in notebooks that I had not even thought about for a year or two, and a couple of those are kind of floating to the top as my favorites. But I very rarely do covers,
Uh-huh.
but I found like in some of these, some of my live stream shows, I felt like they were appropriate. Maybe you know, like I was doing some songs off of an album that I recorded in Muscle Shoals. And I felt like it was important to tell some stories about Muscle Shoals and do a song that Aretha Franklin recorded in Muscle Shoals. And it was I Never Loved a Man the Way That I Love You.
Uh-huh.
I had a lot of fun doing that song.
That's such a hot song.
I did it twice. I did it on 2 different shows, and it's not something that I'll like keep doing every show. You know, it's like I did it, okay, I did it, and I'll let it go. But I gotta say, I really had a good time with that song. Has a lot of reach down deep. You know, it's just, it's excellent.
That's one of my aqua aerobics songs.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that bridge when she's like, yeah, yeah. Oh, I love it. I loved singing it. And I sang it in her key, which made me really happy. I thought I was going to have to sing lower. I have a little bit lower voice than Aretha.
Uh-huh.
And so I put it I'm like, well, she sings it in this key, so I'll go a half step lower. And I'm like, you know, I just don't feel like I'm getting it. I'm going to go ahead and try it in her key. And I like nailed it. And I'm like, excellent. That made me feel so great. I could sing it in Aretha's key. That's saying something. Aretha is something else.
So tell me, on the songwriting end, Shelley, what is your process for songwriting? Are you one of the methodical songwriters that sits down every day and tries to write a song, or it comes to you, you channel it?
Well, sometimes it comes to me and I channel it, but if I waited for that, I would be writing like 1 song a year, you know, because it doesn't happen enough. Sometimes though, I channel a whole song and boom, 20 minutes and like, wow, I wish every song was that easy. Some songs I struggle over. There's songs that I've been writing on for years that I'll give up on and throw it away. And year later, I find it in the notebook and go, you know, that's almost a song. If I could just fix this one part, you know? And so that's kind of what I've been doing now, is going back and fixing some things. A normal songwriting thing for me is just getting by myself and getting into my zone and getting a notebook and just writing, you know, I start with a kind of stream of consciousness and I just write and I try to get going and I fill up a page and go back and look at it and see if there's anything that kind of bubbles to the top as like, this is a good theme, or this one line is like, sometimes I'll look at it and go, oh, check that out. That's like a whole song right there in the middle of that, you know? And so I try not to censor myself and just go with it and then go back and look at it and see if anything pops out at me that's workable. And other than that, I just keep trying to go back and fix songs. I just find I've got so many notebooks full of songs, and I just think like, well, if this one had a little bit stronger thing to visualize here, let me work on that, and so I kind of go back and tweak songs and work with them and trying to get them out of my notebook and into the world.
Right. It's so interesting because everybody has a different process for how they write, and I'm always in awe of it. I actually wrote a song a couple of days ago, and then I woke up, and you wake up and you've had this stream going where you actually wrote a song in your sleep, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, well, there it goes.
You didn't write it down. You can't write it down. Oh, I hate when that happens. Yeah. I occasionally, things like, well, the full moon, it gets me going. So you'll hear a lot of, sometimes my songs will mention the moon or the full moon. It's probably because that's when I was writing it, So often I'll be writing and comment on my surroundings, on what's inspiring me right then, I get inspired around water. So if it's raining, it's storming, I get more inspired. I have a lot of storm and rain songs. Actually get inspired in the shower. There's water in the bathtub.
Right.
I had this whole song pop in my head, and I'm not going to reveal it yet because I'm so excited about it, but I've got to sit down and write it. But I had this whole song idea that you're going to love once I get it together.
Okay.
Come into my head when I was in the shower in Durango. As soon as we drove in and got to our hotel, I'm like, I'm going to take a shower. Got in there and I started washing my hair, and I'm like, where is that a song? What is that? Am I thinking of that? Oh, don't forget, So I had to get out of the shower and write down what I could remember. Yeah. So I have a song called Stormin' in the South, and there's a lyric in it that says, I just lay back in the water and wash away the pain. I was actually in the bathtub when I wrote that line. So I just laid back in the water. I wasn't talking about a bath in the song, but now that you know, it'll never be the same.
So your songs are autobiographical.
Just the bath part. Oh.
I'm going to take just 1 minute here and do a quick little commercial.
Cool.
Anybody that wants to donate to Shelley's tip jar, you can find her on Venmo at Shelley King TX, and that is SHELLEYKINGTX, or on PayPal me at Shelley King TX. And her merch is at shelleyking.com/merch. And Shelley's got several CDs out there, and they are all fabulous. And if you would like to help me continue paying for Zoom Pro, you can donate to me on Venmo at dscott1141, or PayPal me /dscott1141. And the Continental Club employees tip jar, which our employees, we are so very fortunate to have Steve as the owner for the Continental Club, Sea Boys, and the Continental Club Gallery. You can find our tip jar at www.continentalclub.com/closed. That is the page where you can find all of our information about the current shutdown and tipping and so on. 100% of the donations go to the employees. And then our merch page, which is at www.continentalclub.com/Austin-shop. And the profits of all merch sales also go to the employees. And in case you weren't aware, James McMurtry has graciously donated the proceeds of his CD, or well, actually, I think it's just on digital downloads, on Bandcamp, and it's at continentalclub.bandcamp.com /album Blasted from the Past. And this is a collection of songs that James had recorded over several years at the Continental Club. And so that is my commercial.
Yay. Tip. That's cool.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate that people have been so generous in helping out our employees because, you know, several of them have families. You know, it's not just them. You know, a lot of us have been there in excess of 20 years. Edwin has been there the longest, and then Kelly has been bartending the next longest, and then Celeste, and then me, and then Amy, and then Rob, I think. So there are several of us that have been there.
Yeah,
that's 20 years. I mean, I've been there for, it'll be 28 years on New Year's Eve.
Wow.
That's a long time.
It is. That's loyalty, and that speaks volumes for the Continental Club. It really does. You know, Continental Club is like a home to so many people, not just musicians, the people that go there, that go to see their favorite musician weekly. Right. It's a family, and it's a place, it's a meeting place, a gathering place, and it's important to us as a community, and has been for a really long time. I moved to Austin in '92, and well, I used to go see the Gray Ghost there, you know, right. And so many people have had residencies there that have been very influential, and it's been just an amazing place to not only go see music, but to go meet my friends and see the community.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
miss you totally.
Oh, yeah, it's tough. And, you know, Steve is hanging in there, but it's hard. You know, he was lucky enough to get some of the grant money when it was offered for venues.
Thank goodness.
But, you know, we have 3 venues, 3 spaces.
Right.
And he was only allowed to apply for 1. So, well, everyone thought that he got a pretty sizable amount. Well, he did, but he has to use that amount to keep 3 different spaces alive. Right. And it wasn't enough to go around, I'll tell you that.
It's such a rough situation. I signed up to speak to City Council tomorrow about about them trying to support the venues. So there's an item on the agenda tomorrow for City Council. So anybody that wants to go over there, you know, try to sign up, and you speak on the phone for like 2 minutes about why this is important. And, you know, this is really important. This is Austin.
Absolutely. I was horrified to find out that Saxon Pub got no grant at all.
I know.
How does that happen? I don't know, but, you know, I'm sure you saw Kevin Russell's speech that went around everybody. It was such a great speech. But that's it, you know. Put up or shut up. Put your money where your mouth is. You're going around calling this the live music capital of the world and drawing business in on that premise, using that to bait companies to Austin, using that to showcase our quality of life. Right. And if you can't support that quality of life, then you have no business saying that. And that's generating city revenue with it.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I mean, that's the real argument, is they're using it to make money, but then not sharing that money with the people that they've built that on.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, the story of how it became live music capital of the world was because of something that Lillian Stanfield said to Nancy Coplin. And I can't remember if they were in a car together or on the phone or whatever, but you know, Lillian made the statement that Austin was the live music capital, and Nancy thought it was a great idea, and she took
was
it
on
to
the music
powers that
council.
be, and it became the slogan. But Lillian is also the person that used to wear a big old button when she played at Chicago House. And she, like you, was a powerhouse blues player and vocalist. And she used to wear this big old pin that said, "If I had a hammer, there'd be no more folk singers."
Well, there's that.
So that's awesome. The woman that named us the live music capital of the world.
Yeah, love it. That's great.
Well, Shelley, do you have any parting thoughts for everybody?
Ooh, they should tune into my show that happens here in about an hour. I'll be on at 7, and it's going to be on Facebook and YouTube and Austin Channel 16 and 99.
Yep.
And I'll be sitting right here, but with a guitar, and I'll be singing. So come on back. I cannot wait to get to play at the Continental Club again. Oh, I miss you, Diane. I miss everybody at the Continental Club and all over town. I miss all of our music fans, the happy faces that I see out there dancing. I miss seeing that, you know? So I miss y'all, and I want you to be safe and healthy and hang in there, and we'll all get together again.
Okay. I'm wishing the same, all of that.
Yes, yes.
And please do tune in for Shelley's show. She'll blow your mind. I guarantee it.
I guarantee.
Exactly. And again, I want to encourage you, please, to tip to Shelley's tip jar, to our employees' tip jars, and buy merch, buy that merch. And I will see you next week. I believe I have Mike Flanagan and Sue Foley.
Cool.
At 5. And we're going to see how this worked on Facebook, if we actually got a Facebook Live out of it. Learning something new every week.
It says it's live on Facebook. So.
It does say it's live on Facebook. Anyways, thank you so much, Shelley, for joining me for this. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And
thank you, Diane.
I miss seeing you in person, and I can't wait till someday when we can hug again.
I know it. Hugs.
Exactly. Okay, y'all take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, Diane. Adios.